Okay guys, this video is for geometry for section 1.7.3. It will be due Friday, April 17th. Before I get going on the lesson, there is a couple things that I do want you to remember. There's 180 degrees in a straight line. Complementary angles mean that they add to equal 90 degrees. Supplementary angles mean that they add to equal 180. Some of your quiz questions will use that vocabulary. So that's a quick review. Make sure you know what that means. Okay, for the new section here, it's going to be covering what's called vertical angles. Vertical angles occur whenever you have an X, such as what I have drawn here. Vertical angles are angles that are opposite each other. They have a vertex which sits right here in the middle. It's the intersection of the X. So we're asked what the vertex is. The vertex of this drawing is C. It's point C. I'm going to go ahead and write that in. Now, to list a pair of vertical angles, this angle here, ACD, this top angle, is opposite this bottom angle, BCE. So they are vertical angles. So let me draw that in using a color here. So this angle, this top angle, is opposite this bottom angle. So they are vertical angles. Now this question here, it says angle ACB is congruent to what? Well, the reason why we're going over vertical angles is because anytime they're opposite on this X, that means they are congruent to each other. So, for example, if this angle was 100 degrees, this angle down here would also be 100 degrees. They are congruent to each other. So here, angle ACB is congruent to what? Angle ACB is here. It goes ACB. So if we go opposite that, we get DCE. So angle ACB is congruent to angle DCE. And I'll go ahead and write that in here. Always make sure you use the angle sign when you're talking about an angle. In this particular case, you do have to use 3 letters to represent the angle. DCE. Because if you just use angle C, it doesn't tell what angle C you're using. There's 4 possibilities here for angle C, and it doesn't tell you which one. So make sure you use 3 letters. So this is angle DCE, and it goes in order, angle DCE. So these two, this angle and this angle, are congruent to each other. This angle and this angle. Okay. So now let's see how we can apply this into a problem. So now we're given this drawing, and then the question is, angle RVE is equal to what? What's the angle measure? So RVE is here, so we have RVE, and we want to know what that angle measure is given these two values. Here, LVB is 75, AVT is 60, and we need to figure that out. And just a quick reminder, this middle point here where everything intersects is the vertex. So V is the vertex of this drawing. So again, to go back to our vocabulary, I'm going to use this right here. A straight line is 180 degrees. I'm going to do that first of all to figure out what this angle right here in the middle is. So we have a straight line. If we look at here, TB is a straight line. So all these angles right here, that 60, this unknown angle, and that 75, all of these are going to add to equal 180 degrees. I don't know what this is yet, but we can use that 180 degrees to figure it out. So I'm going to come down here. So I have 60 degrees, which is this first one. I'm going to add this angle to it, angle AVL. I don't know what it is. I'm going to add the 75 to it. And that's going to equal 180. So if we can solve for this is like a variable. Angle AVL is just like a variable that we don't know in calculus, or excuse me, in algebra. So if we can solve for this AVL, that'll tell us what this angle measure is. So go ahead and combine the 60 and the 75 to get 135 degrees. So we're going to simplify this a little bit. So we have angle AVL plus 135 degrees. And that's going to be equal to 180. The 180 just comes on down. Now subtract. We want to isolate this AVL. So subtract 135 from both sides. Here, this just goes to 0. So all we have left is AVL on the left-hand side of the equation. So this is angle AVL. The equal sign just comes on down. Then on the right side, we have 180 minus 35, which is 45 degrees. So now we have angle AVL is equal to 45 degrees. So that goes here. The 45 degrees goes up here. Now that we've figured that out, we can use this vertical angles property that we just learned. Angles that are opposite on this X here are congruent. So this top angle is congruent to this bottom angle. This left angle is congruent to this right angle. So right here, this 45 is across from our angle that we're looking at, RVE. So these two are congruent to each other. Angle 45 is congruent to RVE, so that makes this angle 45 degrees. And that's what we were looking for. We were looking for angle RVE, and we had to use vertical angles to figure that out. So the answer that of angle RVE is 45 degrees. Zoom out there so you can see what happened. There's one more type of problem that's going to come up on the quiz. It's also using vertical angles, but it may look something like this. So here we have another vertical angle situation. C is the vertex. We have angle ACD is listed as having 5x plus 32 degrees. Angle BCE is listed as having 7x plus 8 degrees. So these two are vertical angles, and so they're equal. So, but we need a way to figure out what the angles are using the information that we're given. Since these two are equal, we can take this expression, 5x plus 32, and set it equal to 7x plus 8. Because the two angles are equal, that also means these two expressions are equal. We'll go ahead and write that down here. So 5x plus 32 is equal to 7x plus 8. So that's our equation that we're going to be dealing with, and that's going to let us solve for our x here that we're looking for. So just use basic algebra rules for solving equations. I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides, and that'll get rid of the x on this side, and it'll make a 2x on this side here. So subtract 5x from this side, subtract 5x from this side. Here, 5x minus 5x is 0, so it disappears. The 32 just comes on down. The equal sign comes on down. 7x minus 5x is 2x. And bring down the 8. Now, I still want to keep working. I've got to get this x here all by itself. First, we got to subtract this 8 from both sides. The 8 is being added to the 2x, so we want to do the opposite. We're going to subtract 8 from both sides. So subtract 8 here and subtract 8 here. On this side, we have 32 minus 8. That's 24. Bring down the equal sign. Here the 2x is just come on down. There's nothing subtracting on the 2x. And here 8 minus 8 is 0. So the 8 there just disappears. So now we have 24 is equal to 2x. We still got to get rid of this 2 off the x. The 2 is multiplying the x. So we need to do the opposite. We need to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. When we do that, these 2's will cancel. So we'll just be left with x by itself on the right side. On the left side, we have 24 divided by 2 is equal to 12. And so we wind up with that x is equal to 12. So that gave us our first answer that we're looking for. So x is equal to 12. Now, it did ask for another answer. It wanted to know what the measure of ACD was. So again, ACD is this top angle here. So we know what x is. Now we can use x to figure out what this angle is. So the way we do that, we're going to take our value for x that we solved and put it in for x here in this expression. So this is going to be 5 times 12 plus 32. So we're going to put 12 right in for x. So we're going to have 5 times 12 plus 32. 5 times 12 is 60. 60 plus 32 is 92. And put my degree symbols on here. So what we find is angle ACD is 92 degrees by putting the variable back in. Make sure you do put your degree symbols on there. So angle X is 12 degrees. Angle ACD is 92 degrees. That's it. I'm going to zoom out so you can pause it if necessary to look at what we've done. But that is all you'll need today to do the homework. If you have any questions, please let me know.